First of all, I came here to teach in Lamberton in 1965, and I came here to teach agriculture. But I had an introduction to the Laura Ingalls Wilder and the books and so on before this, because I went to a country school, and in the country school, every morning the teacher there would read to us from the Laura Ingalls Wilder books for about a half hour every day. And so we went through the books, the series of the books, and I was always fascinated by what I heard when she was reading about this. And we had to meet outside. This was back in 1946. And we had to meet outside because they thought there would be a problem, but it didn't make any difference because they didn't know what was causing it at the time, and it wouldn't have made any difference to anybody. But so then we met outside, so she would read to us outside on this open porch from these Laura Ingalls Wilder books. My first teaching job, and the only one really, the place I had, was here at Lamberton. And so then when I came here, the teachers from Redwood County would have a county meeting every fall. And the year that we met at Walnut Grove, then we took a tour of the dugout site and all of these kinds of things. So then it refreshed my interest in what was going on here. The principal at the school was Bill Richards, and he came to talk to me and said, "Why don't you come and be in our pageant?" Well, it was kind of interesting because I had helped with drama at Lamberton School and directed a couple plays here. And so I thought, oh, this sounds interesting. I tried out and got the part. And then it branched into the fact that after a while, my own kids were interested. And my wife was interested. So one year, all 6 of us were in the pageant at one time. It started because of the fact that I was the one that started after Bill Richards suggested that I be in this. Okay, so then that's how that started. And then after I was in it, they found the interest in this because of me going to the rehearsals and so on and talking about what we were doing there and so on. So then they started, and I believe that Oak probably was the first one of the 4, but then Britta followed in, and then the other 2 followed in too. And then of course Anna directed it then 1 year or whatever. Britta had done a lot of dancing here, then she danced when she was in college, and she danced at halftime at the Orange Bowl, and so she was really into this dance too thing. So I'm not sure anybody taught me how to do cartwheels, but you know, that was part of the dance group. Yes, and so you know, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun being with. There's times that you have to be serious in this drama type thing, but just associating with the people and that kind of thing it was just such a great experience. And it wasn't enough to be just here in Walnut Grove, I should say, looking around in the cemeteries. Then I thought, well, okay, does anybody know where Charles and Carolyn Ingalls' son is, where he's buried at? So I knew he passed away at South Troy when the grasshoppers were bad, and they went over and worked with Charles on Charles's brother's farm. Charles' brother was married to Carolyn's sister, so these kids were double cousins, and there was a farm there, and so I was going to go over there to see because I knew he had passed away there. That's what I could read anyway. And according to Laura's information when she went to Missouri later in life, in the Bible there was a note that said they buried him under a white rock and on the farm. But so that was difficult because Charles's brother did not own the farm, and so if you don't own a farm, then how can I find where this farm is at? I knew from the books and the reading that the children played in the Zumbro River that went through the farm, But there's a lot of farms that the Zumbro River went through, so that didn't help me much. And I went there twice to South Troy to try to find this grave. But I decided, I'm going to look at in cemeteries, because maybe they moved the grave from originally, if they moved away from there or whatever. So I went from cemetery to cemetery on 2 days, 2 different times. And one day I got a note from one of the curators, and he said, this child is buried in our cemetery. So is there a marker there? No. And I said, well, is he buried there? Well, we just think he is. South Troy, I mean, it's a church that's boarded up and a antique store. And that's it. But the one person said, well, when I walked into this antique store, she said, I bet I know why you're here. I said, well, I bet you're looking for a grave. And so she said, well, why don't you check on the Stagecoach Road up there in the woods? She said, I wasn't successful with that either. But I would continue to look for this. But is this where you have your death certificates? And oh, we have all kinds of death certificates. I'm here to check on the death certificate of Charles and Carolyn Engel's son. And they looked at me and they said, are you talking about these TB people? I'm talking about real people, I said, that lived in Minnesota. They said, a son? They didn't have any boys on TV. And I said, that's not the point here. The point is that I want to see if I can find the death certificate, because he died in this county. Said, oh, well, I would just appreciate it. I said, I know you're really busy today. You have too much to do, but I'm going to leave, and I'm going to leave the information for you. And if you could find something, I would appreciate it if you could call me. I was out of Wabasha probably 10 minutes. The phone rang. They said, we found it. I wondered evidently nobody had ever gotten one before. The reason is because you have to sign. If you get a death certificate, you have to sign that you got a death certificate when you got it. There's no signature for that. How about a birth certificate for Nellie and Willie? I knew they were born at Leroy, Minnesota. So I contacted the city council at Leroy, and they said, yes, but you're in the wrong county. And I still, hopefully this summer, can go to that courthouse and check that out. Is Nellie, I said, is she lost? Is Nellie Olson lost? She turned around, she said to me, Nellie Olson never gets lost. just like it would be, you know. I mean, just like she would be on TV. And then she said to me, what happened to the real Olsons when they left Walnut Grove? And I said, well, first of all, their name was Owens. And I said, I understand that Laura changed the name because she didn't say nice things about them. And I said, they were Owens, and they moved to Ferndale, California. And she said, well, how do you know this? And I said, the church records in Walnut Grove tell us that. That they owned a dairy when they were in California. And then she said to me, but they moved to Oregon. Willie and Nellie both buried in the same cemetery with their mother, not their dad, because the mother and dad had separated earlier, so they weren't together. She learned that they did not know that they were the people from the book or the TV show, because they said we weren't Olsons. When the Beatles lived in Walnut Grove, one of them was killed in the sawmill. When the Olsons left, the Owens, when they left, they took one with them, which was Frank. When Willie was in Walnut Grove, he was playing with firecrackers, supposedly showing off for some girls. Had this firecracker in the bag of sand, and it blew up, went off and blew up, and blinded him in one eye. Later in life, he was in a pasture where there were trees growing, and a tree fell on him and blinded him in the other eye. I used to do seed art in the park. It's the only state in the United States that has where you can make pictures and so on out of seeds. That's crop art. It's all been a great experience, regardless of however you look at it. The whole thing has been a good interest to me, starting way back when I was in country school. Yep. Yes.